here, so he's actually at 7. I need an agenda, my dear.
Yeah, I want to make sure. There you go. There.
Okay.
He took all the agendas.
He did.
There's one here.
He's like that.
Can we have, yeah.
Actually, I have 5 things with nobody with real time. How tight are you for time?
I'm fine.
You're
Yeah,
good?
that's really fine.
All right, so Carl, do you want to come up
Okay.
and?
Did you overbook it?
Well, a little bit. No, no.
I know.
I'm just gonna move this up here for the moment, if you don't mind. I'll just put it
Yeah, I do, man.
Didn't matter.
I was being polite. All right. So Carl is here for a couple of things. We need to talk about the well down at the community garden. You went down and talked to the man who's digging the well, correct? Yep. And you're comfortable with the placement of it and
Well,
what?
the plan
So
is-
here's,
I didn't meet him there, but I went down a little while
That's
ago
the
and
hands
paced
on.
off.
Just set up the minutes.
It's 150
Minutes.
feet from the closest point to the wetlands of the guy, and anything that's disturbed is 150.
yeah,
That's
he
a-
said
okay,
175,
well.
so, but either way.
It doesn't matter, there's plenty of room.
Mhm.
And the proposed well, oh, he's going to well, I was going to the garden. So, yeah, that's probably right. There's, yeah, I'm perfectly satisfied, there's plenty of room in here.
We're over 100 feet high.
200.
Oh,
That's
from
why.
the river, yeah, it's got 240 feet from the river.
So,
Yeah.
River Road is here,
Yeah.
so the river's over
Yeah, river's over there.
here.
240 feet.
Right, so why are we talking about this?
I think as a courtesy, oh, plus it's on conservation land, right? This land has a CR?
CR, right.
Right.
Okay,
So,
gotcha,
there
okay,
you go.
that's the key.
Stop trying to trip me up, man.
I was curious.
Well, don't we just have to sign off anyway?
Yeah, when I was here the last time,
Right, we had asked
you
him.
asked, and that was part of our statement of work to the contractor,
Yep.
that he had to get your approval as well.
Exactly.
Approval before you proceeded.
Yep. So, yeah, I think we're good, looking at the placement of all of this. You may.
It's all right.
Yeah, yep. And I did notice, I read all of this briefly, that they're going to remove the spoils, correct?
Yes, that's in there.
Yeah.
In the statement of work.
What
Yep.
does that mean exactly?
So when they dig the well, they
Yeah, I know
pull,
what the spoils are. So
Okay.
how, my concern is if they dig the well, they're gonna put that stuff somewhere.
Right.
So where are they gonna put that in the street?
First of all, maybe we ought to talk about the mud holes that are necessary, and the town is gonna do that. Our highway department's gonna take care of that. And that's a change since we were here the last time.
so they're gonna dig holes
And that's
for
to
the
say-
spoils to go into.
That's to save $1,200 out of the right money. And
Yeah, where's,
What's a mud hole?
when, again, I'm not technically astute in all these areas, but I'll give you my understanding. So when you drill a well, apparently they have to put fluids into the well. All right? And I talked to Bill, executive, and these are customary fluids that they put in, nothing additives, nothing like that. And when they go through that process, that material has to come out of the well and has to go someplace. So they dig a hole, call it mud hole, and the town's going to do that. And then part of our statement of work requires that when it's all said and done, that they put the site back to the way it was, clean it up, seed it. The town's not going to do that. That saves $1,200 in the grant.
that's great.
So can you mark where that mud hole will be on the plan? Is it next to the well?
It'll be right beside the well.
It'll be right
Oh,
beside.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right in that same
Is
area.
it a sloped area? What's the?
No,
No,
it's
it's
flat.
pretty flat, yeah.
Very flat.
So, I know the garden's flat, but where the well is gonna be flat?
Yeah.
It's directly behind the shed, which is all very flat.
Oh, so do we need to stabilize the mound of dirt? in any
No.
way?
Until, all the work's gonna happen in like a day or two, right?
I don't know the exact time frame. I haven't spoke to Mr. Sontag about that yet,
Okay.
so I don't know.
I mean, from when they dig to, so from when they dig to when they reseed. You said the highway department's gonna do the
They're gonna-
restoration and the
They're gonna
reseeding?
dig the mud holes, they're gonna clean it up after the fact, and that was part of the original statement where the Sontag would do, but the highway department volunteered to do it to save us.
Oh, yeah. This is good.
Yeah, well, you just wouldn't want, the only concern would be if for some, it'd be extremely unlikely, so I don't think I'd worry about it.
Was
Just
it
that-
rain?
Yeah.
A lot of rain.
It's extremely flat, the whole area is like a billiard table, really.
Right.
Sloping in any direction. You know, the mud hole's gonna be about the size of the back of the pickup truck. We're not
Yeah.
talking a great big
Right.
excavation, it fills in, and then, you know, they take the loam, and the town probably haul it up to the transfer station where they store loam. and
So why do you
keep
dig
it
the
there.
hole at all? Why don't you just drop it there?
Well, if you had the well,
Because the
it just
lake
runs
is-
out all over the, you know, all this crushed stone, and it just picture it boiling up out of the well and running all over the grass and everything else, so they like to
This way it
keep it in good
percolates.
place.
percolates into the ground.
Yep. Okay.
Right, and, yeah, all the schmutz stays in one place.
All the way.
Schmutz, that is the technical term,
You're
yes.
from New York City.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Uh,
Learn something every day.
Yep.
We call it
Um,
crud up here.
Crud, yes, all the crud. Okay. Anybody have any other questions?
That sounds good.
Is it rocky?
Just New England.
It's
Yeah.
Berlin.
Based upon what I've seen on the surface, that whole area is, yes. I mean, we filled up we have two large tubs that the gardeners put stones in, and they get filled up every season.
Sure.
Yeah.
They grow.
Caviar.
Best crop in New
Well, I gotta
England.
tell you, the land is, the garden area is looking very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks
Years
good.
of gardeners cleaning up the stones and cultivating and all that sort of thing. It's looking, the soil's looking very nice these days.
Awesome. All right, so do we need to vote on, we should,
Yes, we should.
vote on whether to accept the proposal as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. So if you folks send me something saying you approved it, I can send it to Mr. Sontag.
Yeah, that's where it's gonna cost you.
Exactly. So I,
Justin
right.
cookies?
I was gonna say, we accept chocolate chip cookies.
Yeah.
Yes.
Steve, you seconded?
So here,
No.
so I printed out all of the stuff that was going around, all the emails. So we can I can just sign it right here and give you this.
Okay.
Is that
That's
work?
fine. That works.
And then if you need more than that, we can
No,
do
that's
that,
fine.
but,
That works, and
yeah.
then I can notify Mr. Sontag.
I gotta say it again, Carl, I don't know why we didn't put that garden right up in the corner of the brook and the road, right next to the brook.
I know.
It's agriculture.
Pump out of the
It's
road?
agriculture.
All right.
And then it got right in the middle of that beautiful hayfield. Oh, well, must have been reason for it.
Well, they didn't want it too close to the road, maybe.
We will make a file for.
Yeah, we do need that. We do need to keep that plan on file.
Yep, exactly. All right, and then you said you had a couple of questions about the bylaw, the bag ban.
Well, first of all, Holiday Farms sent you
Yep.
folks.
Yep.
And I was just curious, as being on the Agricultural Commission, I'm just curious what you all
Right, so
responded about. And then I have a personal one myself.
Okay, so I corresponded with Susan a little bit, or Suzanne, I guess is her name, this afternoon. Let me find, I had brought this with me. So, it seems like her and I were in, I thought she was talking about one thing, she thought I was talking about another thing. The last email that we had, we seemed to clarify that. So the plastic checkout bags with the handles are the ones that are banned. Apparently, she was talking about the kind of produce-style bags that you get at a supermarket, and would she still be able to use those? And the answer is yes. So I believe her and I think she is now satisfied. I'll, continue the conversation until she is, if we have not settled it.
Yeah, that's interesting, that was not my interpretation of
Of the initial question, exactly.
So like that, yeah,
This
that
is-
not.
This is what, I come prepared, I was a Boy Scout.
Yeah.
So these are the ones that are big.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep,
Now,
and those are allowed.
okay.
Correct.
Is Suzanne the one?
No.
Well, not to change the subject.
Yeah, Suzanne Rebels.
Not to change the subject, but from my point of view, one of the product lines I offer at my farm consists of aquatic plants.
Okay,
We've
yep.
been using these.
Mm-hmm,
What I'm going to do,
okay.
I got a partial box left. I presume I can dispose of those at the transfer
You can,
station.
or you can use them, the
Through the
ban
season.
goes into
January.
effect January 1st. Yep, so use them up.
Okay, and whatever's left, I can bring them to the transfer station. Okay.
Or just throw them away, because that's what they're gonna do.
Or litter
That's what we
them
did.
Well, you
Yeah,
can bring them to the
It's
grocery
it's
store
almost
on
on the
road.
right down the street.
Yeah.
You should be able to bring those to the grocery
Oh,
store.
okay, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Probably not.
The 380 paragraph, and by the way, I fully support the bylaw. I mean,
Thank you.
100% behind it,
Yep,
but-
no, but there's definitely clarification. Yep,
So on the 3.3, that's where I figured I could use these for my aquatic plants.
Yep.
You know, we got 1 gallon water lilies and larger, so you get anywhere from 5 to 8 pounds. And you just can't, excuse me, hand that to somebody.
sure, here, put this in your cart.
And I have floating plants, water lettuce and water hyacinths, and it's the same situation. So
Yep.
if these are acceptable, I'm happy,
Yep,
I'm done.
yep, and if you already own those, but if you run out and you go to purchase new ones, if you wanted to look into compostable ones,
Yeah, okay.
that,
That's good.
I mean, that's up to you, of course, but
Yeah, right.
that is an option.
Yeah, no, we do it for stuff like that, and we
Yeah.
didn't thought of that in this case, but, yeah, keep that in mind. Okay,
Awesome,
I'm done. Thank you all.
excellent.
Wonderful.
Very good.
All right, how your eyes?
Fine, yeah, I had the last one done in December,
Yep.
we're okay now.
Good. All right.
But you went to get to the farm car.
Yeah, I know.
I have grass in my yard this big, and it's insane.
All right, folks, thank you very much.
Thank you, Carol. All right, Eli, you're up. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, good.
Good. You thought out yet?
Yeah.
Staying out in the rain on one Monday night. I just wave, I'm in the truck. That's the directions, yeah.
Yep, so Eli works for Central Mass Regional Planning, and they have been working on updating our open space plan.
G-O-L-D.
Which we have to have in order to apply for grants.
We're share.
As well as.
No,
this was my lead.
But-
Yeah, I'm giving everybody grief, that's all. In a good mood too. Watch out.
All right, so this is pretty much the bulk and all of what I have tonight is this packet, and then we can talk a little bit more about that timeline and what the rest of the project looks like. But what this is in front, so at the last time I was here before the forum, we looked at goals, and we looked at goals that were included in the previous plan from 2011. And we went through them one by one, and more or less we decided that relatively they all look still relevant. There's, I think, one that came out, and there was some wording that we changed. Things like previously it had said to start a community garden, now it's reworded to continue to support, things like that.
Yep.
But more or less they stayed the same. So what this is, those goals are all here. So like on the top on this first page, the very first row, excuse me, the very first row is the goal. And then each goal as objectives and action items. And these are all carryovers from the 2011 plan, if that makes sense. So the goals are the new updated thing that
Okay,
you've redone. Everything below that is from 2011. So my task, and I don't know if we probably don't do this all tonight. There might be some homework kind of thing between now and the next time I see you all.
Homework.
Homework.
I know.
I'm out of school.
But it'll be, the task is to look at the objectives, which are slightly broader. They're more specific than the goals, but they're not as detail oriented as you kind of need to actually complete the task. That's where the action items come in. So it'll be reviewing the objectives for each goal, reviewing the action items for each goal. And then once that kind of task is complete, it's looking at responsible party. So a lot of these, if the Conservation Commission gets picked up, the Recreation Commission, and a bunch of them as well.
Right, yeah, if I meant to make sure someone was here from rec, and that was my bad. I forgot to get in touch with them.
I can definitely forward it to Greg.
Yeah,
I should email this to him.
yeah,
I sent him the goals previously,
okay.
but I can definitely send him, is he the right kind of main
I
contact?
think so, yeah. Yeah, they're a little looser, more
Okay.
loosely structured.
So I can definitely send this to him with the same kind of overview.
Yep, that would be great.
But this is kind of the next big task.
Oh,
Here.
The man who is sitting here is on the Agricultural
Oh,
Commission.
really?
Yeah. I didn't even really realize there was some stuff there for him. But, all right.
So if you want to talk kind of generally, I don't know how the best way to handle it is, to be honest.
Why don't we just scrape one objective and go down? Look, I think they'll be fairly quick.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
First, I mean, the question I have is, what is the time? When is this, when do we need to get this in order to get money to buy the Wendler property?
Good question.
What's
So
the
that's-
deadline?
Sure, so that's kind of the second half I want to talk about. So for the grant requirements,
Yeah.
June 30th. And all they need by then is chapters 6 through 9. So that's what we kind of front,
Chapters 6 through 9.
which is all of the kind of public outreach kind of stuff.
Oh, in the book, yeah, I think.
So that's how we front-loaded the survey
Yeah.
and the forum and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So my plan between tonight and really the end of the month is to have a draft of that part of the plan done. And no, it's not.
I know, yep.
And so that'll give, because I want to give you all enough time to read it and make sure that, I don't want to be too close to June 30th and be rushed to
Right.
have
So
getting comments and things like that.
back.
So I will send you, that's a question as well,
Send it.
is if I send you an electronic version of it.
Right, I can send it to everybody. But
Yeah.
it means you're gonna have to read your email.
Oh, I have to read.
You have
So
to
what
acknowledge
do
that you got
The
it.
first 6 chapters, what are you going to send us?
So-
What is the front end loaded, you said?
Good
with-
question. So the really chapters 1 through 3
Yeah.
are kind of, this is gonna be kind of general. 1 through 3 are kind of context,
Yeah,
town history,
Yeah.
population
Okay.
demographics, that kind of stuff.
yeah.
Chapter 4 talks about an environmental inventory.
Mhm.
I'll talk about kind of really everything relevant to that. Chapter 5, we'll get into, it's really a narrative description of the open space map. So we'll talk about ownership, levels of protection on different properties, what's allowed, what's not allowed in different areas. And that's all the stuff that a little bit more time to put together. We're still working on it.
Yeah.
But the really kind of focus is going to be on the second half, which is kind of talking about the more like visioning stuff, these, the goals, results from the survey, the community forum, and kind of more of the community needs kind of thing.
So chapter 1 through 5 is what we're shooting for June 30th.
The other way.
6 through 9.
1 through 5, we have more time for. That's more
Oh,
of the
excuse
generic
me.
stuff.
So
than-
what do we need by June 30th?
Yep, so by June 30th, we need 6 through 9, which is why.
6 and 9?
Which is
6
why I
through
have.
9.
6.
Yeah. which is
Okay.
why kind of this kind of stuff, the goal is to make it to
Right.
action items.
And the others could go months.
All right, what is the ultimate deadline?
I have to double check that.
Especially as far as our grant goes, for paying you guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good question. I mean, my goal is that by June 30th, we have like a completed 6 through 9 and at minimum, a draft of the rest of it.
Right,
I'm gonna push to have an entire thing get done by June 30th for sure.
that would be awesome. And we took it out.
Was the draft of 1 through 5 what your group is doing totally, or is there town input on that?
There will be time input as well.
Okay, but
Yep.
that's, so that still needs to be had by June 30th as well, if you guys have a draft done?
It'd be awesome if it were,
Oh.
but based on the grant itself, we only need 6. Anything else is great, but.
The objective one there, isn't that in the plan now? We've talked about strategies and ways of protecting land and selling off a lot and just buying a CR and all kinds of things before. That isn't part of that document.
What are we doing about it?
I mean, it probably is.
No, I mean the big one there with the 2 clips on it, when you get your hand on it.
Yep. Yeah.
So 1 is done, basically. I haven't looked at it.
Goals one?
So I mean, that,
The objective one.
so that's kind of what this
Objective one,
exercise
right.
would be, is
Right.
these are all from 2011. So it's looking and seeing what's happened, what should stay.
Okay.
Maybe something is partially complete, so it stays, but the action items
Yep,
change.
yep. All right.
So it looks like it have to be done by June 30th. That's
Everything? 6 through 9?
pay them.
Out to
Yeah.
CMRPC.
Yep. No, the grant that we got to
Yeah.
pay for this
Yeah,
with the state,
yeah.
Fiscal year.
right. This grant provides a contract for fiscal year 19, which begins on the date EEA signs your contract and ends June 30th. Work for which you seek reimbursement must be conducted within your contract period and within the fiscal year in which funds are allocated.
Line before that. Safe work.
So work must be done by June 30th to.
2019.
Right, that sounds like all of that, right?
No, I think, is it talking state fiscal year? Oh, that's the same.
Yeah.
I've talked to, is Emmanuel Awasi,
Mhm.
who
Yep.
kind of administers this grant?
Yep,
And what he's told me is that if we have,
the bulk of it.
yeah,
All right, so, yeah, we should. we-
definitely verify, yeah,
Yeah.
verify that.
Verify and clarify.
But that's been our working understanding kind of for the
Okay.
bulk of the process.
All right.
So it's definitely a good thing to
Keep an eye on, yes,
keep an
we
eye on
would,
and make completely 100% sure.
yes, exactly. All right, well, let's move on, let's work on this then. So tonight, we're gonna go over the objectives, the goals for Conservation Commission. And what else? You said you were going to another thing?
Well, the other thing was just kind of the timeline for the rest of it, which we kind of
Okay.
just talked about.
Yep.
June 30th.
Yeah.
Well, let's make it before that.
All right. So, goal number 1.
So the old plan was from 2011, and it was supposed to last 5 years?
7.
So-
7.
Yep.
Okay, so 2018, so then 19. So this will last 7 years as well?
Yep.
Okay.
This is pretty complete, well thought out as it is.
it kind of lets you prioritize different things, or the duration that a task might take.
I think that's ongoing.
And then there are some that are listed as, there's kind of no year that is ongoing.
Yeah, like I said, the second bullet, prioritizing the ones that have high value for preservation. Right, always ongoing.
And the next one on the next page, which is work with regional land trusts.
Actually, good weapon is SDP with Ashley.
Yeah.
Works great. We're doing the next, you're working up on Balance Rock, I'm talking Spring Hills, and we're doing all that.
Yep.
That's all written out.
Yeah, I mean, would there be a drawback to saying ongoing for all of it?
Not that I can think of, really. I mean, unless there are some things that really aren't, and that should just kind of happen discreetly and
Right.
within a quicker time period.
Okay.
But I don't think any, because I mean, this document at the end of the day is for you all to use.
Right.
Yeah, I think like
So-
the develop a monitoring plan should have a finite, we've got to develop a plan, that's.
Right, well, so actually, instead of ongoing, I was thinking as needed, or some other, because that's situational as well.
Which was the situation?
The develop a conservation restriction monitoring plan.
No, that's something you do, and then
you monitor.
you monitor it. The monitoring is ongoing.
You know.
Definitely.
There are two grants though, right? Okay, so that grant to pay them is the same grant to write this?
Correct.
Yep.
Yes, because that's what we're paying them to do. Is to write it.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yep. Yeah, and if you need me to do anything locally,
Okay.
you know, bring copies to
Okay.
people or whatever,
Yeah,
just let me know.
and as we start writing more, there probably will be more questions that come up, that probably don't need to wait until 2 weeks.
Right.
So there probably will be more emails to you.
Okay. So read your email.
Huh? Do you remember my password?
Because we only have
That's
2
fair.
more meetings before June 30th.
Has the Agricultural Commission gotten a copy of this?
Not that I'm aware of, but they will.
Yes. Well, I could drop one off.
Well, he's gonna modify it,
Oh,
and then
yeah, I'll
he'll
make
I'll
just
modify
like.
it.
Yeah.
he's gonna update it with our comments
Well,
first.
you'll
Alright.
find contact just on the town website?
They
Okay.
should have email, yeah.
Okay.
And if you can't, let me know.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll definitely do that.
Definitely stay in touch, you
Yep.
know, so that we can keep things moving.
Yep.
We wish. Awesome.
Great. Well, thank you.
Alrighty,
Great,
Lon.
thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Goes here. Alright. Hey, guys. How are you? Good.
Oh, sorry.
We took Carl Wickstrom early because he was here early, so we got behind a little bit, so.
She's double booked. She's not telling you that. So you're on the next slide.
Just had your bets.
So Gordon,
Yes. Oh.
do we want to
I
let
thought there
Heather
was
go
somebody
real
from-
quick for her porta potty?
It's okay, you can go. 'Cause I'm interested too, it's
Go for it.
fascinating.
Okay,
It's my
yeah.
favorite. It's okay. Oh,
All right.
either way, you go. You.
All right.
You, all right. So Gordon got in touch with me about
How's everyone
putting
doing?
up some bat boxes on conservation land.
Yes.
Yeah.
First of all, I'm not a biologist, or just started as kind of a backyard hobby and just kind of expanded from there. My name's Gordon Miller. I live up on the corner of Randall and Carr. I moved to town about 6 years ago, up by the golf course, if you're not familiar. And this started when I noticed I had bats in my detached garage, and noticed last year I actually had a maternity colony with pups all around, and wanted to create a better environment for them to be able to raise their babies in. And then it kind of, down the rabbit hole I went. And that's ultimately the plan, is but baby steps to get there. So what it reminded me of was also kind of the condition that bats are in nowadays.
Yeah.
I don't want to bore you if you're not familiar. About 10 years ago, there was a syndrome, white nose syndrome. Most colonies have between a 98 and 100% mortality rate when they're hibernating. It causes bats to wake up, they burn their fat reserves, they go out to find food, and then they freeze to death. So the bats that we have left seem to be the ones that are persevering right now, and it's just trying to provide more hospitable locations for them to roost and create a more inviting environment for them. And what I noticed walking around with my dogs around town, I noticed we had plenty of bird boxes, but I didn't see any bat boxes. And the idea about reaching out, I have to give credit to the town of Holden. I was over at Trout Brook, and I saw one of their old bat boxes over there in one of the ponds, and that's kind of how we got into this position. So I brought some information kind of based on, if you weren't familiar with white nose, but more importantly wanted to discuss kind of the locations that I had scouted out and why I chose some of these areas. So primarily what I wanted to zero in on to start was, initially I wanted to have I had 3 bat boxes to give to the town, but I wanted them at 3 different locations, and I have since pulled that back to focus on clustering them to provide a better opportunity for successful roosting in these bat locations. The primary location that I chose as the first choice was over at Lester Ross, a dam site. It seems to fit a lot of the criteria that's needed to facilitate successful use of bat houses. To give a little perspective, there was a major study that was done back in the 80s and into the 90s that showed, in the right circumstances, you still only have about a 2/3. You're only about successful about 2/3 of the time if you hit every single criteria.
Wow.
So you got to leave it up to the bats to find them. And that's where it led to what we have here at Lester Ross. Is we have ample sunlight for them to warm up the boxes. So you need southeast to southerly exposure to get that sunlight right in the morning to warm them up after the night. You need ample water, a good source of clean water nearby, and we have that right there. You also have, that also drains right into a marsh, so you have terrific insect life for them to be able to forage on and create kind of a byway down into some of the other areas past, going down Northbrook towards Marlboro. And then what it also has, it has cover for them, and it also has an open field, and you've got mixed use areas around, which kind of facilitates to bring together. This seems to be kind of, for the limited water resources that we really have for open water here in town, this seems to kind of hit the majority of the spots that would lead us to have a more successful use of the bat houses. So what what ideally we need is, I got this from Maryland, is just kind of some instructions for mounting them and some successful tips. You need to be within a 1/4 mile of water, 10 to 30 yards from cover, and have that southerly exposure to get that sun first thing in the morning. What I've brought here is, I brought 2 examples, variations of the bat houses. So the first one,
Why do you want to cluster them?
it just shows you have, when they clustered them and you're in the right location, you then go up to about an 80% success rate, because it gives the bats options to choose from for varying temperatures, and they just said they're picky at some point for one reason or the other.
They like the Cape as opposed to the high rise.
Yes. So these are done in black, because in our area, July, our average temperature is below 85 degrees, so they do recommend black. I also am going to do dark brown to provide some variations in temperature, because for maternity roosts to be successful, they need internal temperatures between 95 and 100 degrees. So that black box will allow that internal temperature to get up there. And I switched from a plywood to a solid wood because it'll help retain the heat better. It'll also help slow down, prevent you're not going to have that delamination that you're going to have with plywood. The only area that I would like to improve towards down the road is, these are all pine. I would like to go to a cedar or more rot resistant down the road, but I did try and put stain on it and some paint to help preserve that. This design is the more traditional, what they call a maternity roost. This is actually a 3-chamber. I also built a 4-chamber to provide varying temperature gradients inside there. There's holes drilled into the partitions to allow the bats to crawl through and move around. This is a rough wood, so there wasn't a lot of grooving that needed to be done for the bats to climb around. The plywoods have, saw blade cuts right through them to allow them to grip and retain their positions, and a landing pad down below, and they're all caulked and sealed to help keep the temperature inside. This is generally more successful for maternity, as I mentioned, maternity, and this is one that would definitely need to be up near water, where you're going to have that be more apt to have that type of maternity or nursery colony. This is a relatively newer design. This is called a rocket bat box. Designs that look, when it's up, it looks like a bottle rocket. But what I wanted to do is create a variation. This is as much experimentation as it is anything for the area. But it's designed to replicate how bats normally roost. They normally roost in old rotten trees and behind the bark and in hollowed out trees. And this is designed to allow them to be able to move around internally to meet their temperature demands. So on the front side, if they're cold, they can warm up. If they get too hot, they can go to the back side and cool off. But it's really designed to be more like a hollowed out tree that they would see. And as we know, a lot of the dead trees either fall or they get cut down. This is designed to replicate that. I went with this because on average in the studies, this had a 6% higher occupancy rate than the maternity boxes, but they were less likely to be maternity use. And this is going to be more opt for open fields, and this is a freestanding, would go on a metal pole. These can be designed to be mounted on buildings or also on poles, but where I'm proposing down at Lester Ross, this would also be on like a 4x4. And it would be up between 15 and 20 feet high.
How are you gonna anchor it?
What's that?
How are you gonna anchor it into the ground?
Concrete. You put a post in the ground with concrete, and then that sticks up about 3 feet, and then there's a 2-inch galvanized pole that you put on a pivot bracket to put it up and lock it up. But that pivot pole also allows you to bring it down for maintenance during the winter after the bats leave. Make any touch-ups to the
Carolyn?
to the houses that you need, recaulk it, reseal it. But again, this is what would be out there in some variation in color, but this is, this would either be a 3 or 4 chamber, and then that, I don't know if I'll do another one of those. That was a.
We're gonna have to have some jurisdictional clarification.
Sure.
Particularly with Lester Ross.
Okay, I knew that going into it.
Yeah.
So, but as I kept going back and looking around and scouting at locations, that was the one that it kept hitting.
Right, that one's a little more complicated because of because of the water management plan.
Sure.
There, because it's not just our decision.
No, I know. The backup option to that was over at Brewer Brook. And that was down in.
That's still water
Right,
management.
it doesn't get the, right. So as a.
Because it has that
sitting
open pond
member
like that
of-
that I
a
need for the
Sitting
water.
board member of DCR,
So-
what would be?
There won't be any problem.
Right.
What you gotta do is you gotta remind me, the burden's on you, I'll make the call. And
So Walter sits on the board
Oh,
of
okay.
DCR. So we can,
Oh,
so
cool.
getting authorization, I don't think will be a problem. We just have to do that.
Understood.
Yeah.
So this is just an example of what it would look like once they're up freestanding. This picture was actually, they put some bat boxes up at a park up in Chelmsford. That's what the rocket box looks like. And then over here is simply what the maternity box would look like. And then ideally, this would start with a cluster of 3, and then I would like to eventually expand to a couple other areas, and obviously jurisdiction comes into play. A lot of this was on, these 3 were on me. It's, ultimately down the road, if this proves to be successful, then I would like to look to expand beyond that. But
Yeah, we-
my wife said I was into this enough already.
Yeah, anything that would help.
Yeah.
Yeah. We won't have any problem with this. In fact, I've got a letter from a commissioner several years ago that said anything to enhance wildlife on these flood control projects, they would go along with. When I put up bluebird boxes, I try to put them beside a rock or someplace where they can't mow anyway, because you put obstacles out there for mowers. But if you can't, you can't.
Right.
And
So,
I would imagine that to be careful.
yeah, I did some high-tech circling on here. So those were kind of 4 areas.
Way up on the top with where the cabin.
I actually wanted to avoid high up on the top because it would get too much
That's
wind.
why I wasn't sure what these
So-
were as opposed to.
So down here,
Okay.
it's got forest cover on either side, but you're still close enough to the water. Same here and in these locations. But what I was trying to avoid, I didn't want to get too close over here because it blocks that southeast sun in the morning. Not that that's a deal killer, but if we have other options.
And I would just stay off the berms.
Yeah, 'cause this is very
Yeah.
heavily traveled.
Yeah, and I wanted to get it away from.
Yeah, I mean, somebody will get
Yeah.
upset if
For
there's something.
Southeast.
And most people, if you look, this is, like, I walked through here this morning, I needed my walk boots.
Yeah.
So most people don't go down in there, so it's not gonna be disturbed, but it also would provide the opportunity for more, more of an educational base too, as people start to see them and go up, understanding a little bit more awareness around the bats, because most people don't think about it, because you don't see it, we're all in bed and it's dark and
Right.
you
Well,
just see
and
the
once
guano
they're up,
everywhere.
we could certainly sponsor a walk,
Yeah,
to, bring people over there, educate them, see what's going on. It is very cool.
I will, the caveat I have to this too is it could take up to 2 years for bats to utilize them. That's just, it's patients where they can never be used at all.
Right.
But you don't know until you try.
Right. What is the incidence of birds using these instead?
None.
Okay.
What-
Just because of the opening?
Yeah, so what is unique on this, so these were both built to Bat Conservation International specs, is if you take a look, everything comes in through the side, and these are 3/4 spacers, so no bird's ever gonna get up there. That 3/4 space also inhibits wasp developing nests inside of there. So the only thing that you gotta keep an eye out for occasionally are the mud wasps, but they're kind of harmless and just kind of take care of it in the fall,
Right.
after the bats move out. It's also open to hearing people from the town, because they're certainly more successful where bats are already present too.
Yeah.
And that's where it's just word of mouth. Also, I know the state is sponsoring their survey again for people to enter in if they have a colony of more than 10 bats, and it's just trying to create
Oh, cool.
more localized awareness also here in town.
So we want
To vote to accept.
I hope not. Well, I mean, that was part of it too. I mean, I see the mosquito control driving around now, and this is something that, like, I know one bat can eat up to 1,000 mosquitoes an hour.
Yeah.
And,
That's crazy.
or 60 moths, and it's great around, they're great around your garden. I mean,
Yeah, I have moths.
so you got
And I
20
have
bats,
bats.
that's 20,000, that's
Yeah.
20,000 mosquitoes an hour.
Yep.
So it certainly helps.
Yeah, we should talk about putting them in my house.
I was gonna say, Gordon.
Test
one out at our house.
But that, I mean, so I guess
Now-
I
my
move
driver
that
would be
we
where,
support, what's his name again?
Gordon.
Gordon.
Effort
This guy.
to erect bat houses
Second.
around town. Just let us know ahead, so far as he lets us know ahead of time. where they go.
Right, right. So as far as the Lester Ross and Brewer Brook, Walter can definitely help you with Brewer Brook as well?
So this,
Yeah.
I printed off also where I was envisioning over at Burr Brook.
Right, kind of down, yeah.
Down in that open
There you
space.
go.
If you put them in woods, they're they don't get used because they're too hard to find.
Right.
So bats are very curious by nature. They look for new roosting
Right.
spots all the
But
time.
his circle is.
And they generally
Yeah.
check them out
Yeah.
during nighttime foraging, and that's how they find
Is it
them. And then
only-
it'll get the migration back over the caves in the fall, so they hopefully come back to it.
Now, we'll spray it.
Lesser Ross, yeah.
You're not too far, this one, down here, you're not too far from the railroad, the railroad does spray.
It's a storm.
Spray what?
Right.
Pesticides?
Yeah.
So they're-
For mosquitoes? Or-
No, for
Bill.
vegetation.
Vegetation.
I'd have to check.
Yeah.
But you-
What is that, CSX?
Yeah,
that's over here.
Yep.
It's over here, so it's a little different, it's like, you're pretty close here to
Yeah.
here, but.
The minutes should reflect,
That's all,
we
yeah.
can't, we're not approving it.
What do they spray with, Roundup?
And what I thought was also very interesting is if you have bats around, they come back to the same roost every single year. So once we get bats in these houses, they will come back year after year after year.
That's
And it's the
awesome.
same ones,
So
and they can live up to
I
30.
heard if you put a little bat scat there, it draws them in a little bit, the aroma.
Bat conservation says more of a wives' tale, urban myth now, because if you don't get the right
So you know your
species.
bats.
I'm not a biologist.
In my barn, there's a pile of bat shit, about 2 feet in diameter and about that deep. And there's no place for a bat to be. They must, it's almost like that's their.
They're just screwing with you, Walter.
They come out and they roost there enough to do their thing and then crawl in a hole someplace.
Yeah, they live some.
I-
And they
Actually,
fly
come take a
around
look
the
to see.
barn, bombing everything in the barn from my suit.
I can look up and I see them in the eaves, on the outside eaves, and sometimes I don't. And if I go up to the loft, I can find them because they've crawled inside
Yeah.
for different temperature gradients. Because I got the guano all over upstairs.
I've got a gallon of guano.
Very good.
I keep shoving it
So
up.
what do you have the motion as?
Walter moves we support Gordon's plan to erect bat houses around town.
Good,
Second.
support.
Support, but with the clarification,
Miller?
that we can't condone it
Miller.
on our own. without clarification from DCR or other.
Okay, so
government
I
bodies.
also have, Walter will investigate authorization from
We
DCR.
can't, we are not ready, we can't approve it yet.
We're
No,
not,
we're
we're not
supporting
supporting,
it.
we're not
We're
approving
supporting
anything.
it. Wait, so this is not a.
We're not approving anything.
Okay,
If I was doing it, I'd
Just to
just
continue
put
the
it up, period,
conversation.
but,
right.
Yes.
He's coming for, so we'll.
All those in favor of supporting Gordon in his efforts to put up bat boxes around town?
Aye.
I think it's great.
Terrific, thank you.
Right.
So what are the next steps that I need to take?
Keep pegging, keep,
Yeah.
DCR.
Fair enough.
Do you know where Walter lives?
No, I don't. No.
Just, yeah, look for the.
Don't contact me. You
no.
guys see me find this guy.
Is it Miller?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah. Gordon Miller, he has a last name.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got it here.
Just look for the.
Great.
Yeah,
Good
get in
idea.
touch with me and we'll,
Very good.
yeah. And
Thank you
Walter
for.
Bickford, he's actually in the phone book and he actually answers his landline, so.
Very good, thank
He
you.
doesn't have a cell phone.
Yeah.
So we're all good, and then
We're
we'll
good.
move.
Yeah,
Thank you very much for
yeah,
your time.
so, you know, definitely the state property, we can't authorize. We need to get authorization through the state. Walter will help you with that. And then if there's any property on town land.
I'll just reach out to you,
reach
just for
out.
clarification.
Yep,
And
exactly.
actually, you know, we do have scouts coming looking for projects.
Oh, I could use labor.
So, I don't know if that's.
Gold diggers?
I'm sure not.
Not, I will keep that in mind for the next one. I've already got two.
But it might also be a merit badge or something, I gotta look, but there might be a way that the woodworking or
So I
something.
can
merit
let
badge.
Pendergast know.
Right, and then they can make boxes, getting a woodworking merit badge.
Gleason also part of the Book Scouts? Mike Gleason?
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know, his son's a little young,
okay.
so.
Chris Pendergast is the chief hunter.
Give me a call when you're ready to do it. We'll put it out.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
All right.
Thank you, everyone, for your
Excellent.
time.
You're welcome, thank you. Thank you for your interest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice, okay, hello.
Do you guys know who Heather is?
Yeah,
John, do you know?
Nice to meet you.
Heather Simpson runs,
Take care.
Oh, not even, are you kidding? Like a nonprofit and outdoor education,
Yeah.
yeah. Hands on nature.
She's the one who put the porta potty in the
I'm always
field.
outside, yeah.
Burlington
It's around.
Meadow.
Why can't we just take another pit?
Right?
Oh, boy.
So, yeah, so I don't know what else
I
to
know,
say. So
I
we want
know.
to talk about having the camps on the land, but definitely porta potties and trauma use there. And I loved last year when they put it, if that works for you guys.
Right,
They
it
just
was
tucked it
kinda
around
da-
the corner,
yeah.
we couldn't even see it, we didn't have the COVID views. And
That's
the breaking
awesome.
into, yeah.
Yep.
And it was, no one knew it was there. It was
Yeah.
pristine,
That's what
perfect.
they call one painted camo.
Yeah.
No,
So
that
on
was
same
good to
side
put it
as
around
last
the
year.
corner last year.
Yeah.
That was great, and having that ramp there. So is the highway department gonna change the ramp a bit, or?
They're going to improve it.
So it's really drivable still for the
Yeah.
guy, okay,
Yeah.
right.
And you didn't have to lock it.
So we did lock it, but it was totally unused all the time. Like, no one used it but us, and the kids barely go, but I just have to have it in case. So it's when we're in camp from 9:30 to 2. You just have to have it, but mostly they don't go, I don't know why.
You need more
They
fluid?
just hold it.
Do you have
I know,
it?
they do, yes. But, you know, every now and then you have someone with an emergency, and I feel like I need to have something.
Motion.
Second.
Motion to move? Motion to allow Heather to
Thank
place the
you.
porta potty at Berlin Meadow once again.
Any warning that was
seconded?
there.
Yep.
So the work they do, we can still drive on it. Okay,
Yeah.
lovely.
Mhm.
And probably in the future, I'll have to come back and talk about other land I can use, because of course I'm developing my other favorite spot, 100 acres behind the end. You know, yeah, so that's gonna be horrible, you know, I
Yeah.
can imagine it'll be awful in there now, so I'll
Yeah.
have to find somewhere else to move.
Right, well,
sadly.
hopefully there'll be enough of it still.
I hope,
Because
yeah,
all the
like a
wet area,
perimeter.
like the stream and all that will
Yeah.
still be
Yeah.
accessible and
Yeah,
hopefully,
we'll
hopefully it
have
won't
a
be
corner of it at
too
least.
bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, and who knows when that project is even gonna start. So-
Okay, is it the summer though?
Oh, did
Couple
he?
days ago, yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Late summer?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I know.
Probably
Yeah.
right.
He's under attack right now, he's attacking.
Is he?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
Who?
Chris Lake?
Chris Lake.
2 years.
Highland Ridge,
Berlin?
the site.
Pump building,
Oh, okay.
66.
Yeah, yeah, I know
Heavy
about it.
equipment, heavy armor.
Oh, you got big stuff there, okay.
Yep.
Okay. And then regarding the signs, like when the kids are out there at Brewbrook, they love those simple signs, just the deer beds, beaver lodge, just a couple of kind of draws them into. Yeah.
That's an invasive species.
I know, but it makes them talk about it like.
No, I see what you mean about the signs.
Yeah.
I just, my issue with that is I've just seen so many times where they're just,
Yeah.
they're forgotten about, they
Right.
turn into garbage.
And then it looks awful, yeah, exactly. Where are those up there, so straight?
Popular places.
Are they metal?
They're like a hard plastic or something, and then they're
They're
laminated
metal,
on.
Skip Duggan
Yeah.
had them made.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he had them made up.
Yes.
And just a couple of words, you know, it's just great.
We didn't
All right.
Oh,
Okay.
all those in favor?
Aye. Thank you, and just aside, you know, my son's on Scouts, he's gonna be dancing, but
You can make
loves
bad
to
boxes.
help. Yeah, I was gonna say, give me bat boxes, or
Yeah, that would be
anything
great.
else, like there need to be more active in that.
Yes. I actually got an email today or yesterday from Eversource or something. They're sponsoring community volunteer things. So,
Oh.
yeah, I didn't really get a chance to pay
Yeah.
too much attention to it yet, but I can definitely let you know.
Yeah, I'd love to.
And doesn't Cabela's do service too?
Alice
Yes.
does some stuff too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they
might-
haven't gotten directly in contact with us. They have paid for lots of lumber for those bridges
Yeah,
and
for the
stuff, so.
bridges, and they always give my organization so much stuff, but that guy left when they merged with Brass and Brook Crab, so I just
Oh.
went to the area.
Ah.
Just because this is the way I am, can you tell us the time that you expect porta potty down there?
Absolutely, yes, so, usually, so our summer program starts June 10th, and it's usually the weekend before, so we could say June 8th, just to be safe. And then, it goes until like August 17th. And so they'll pull it out usually the 19th.
How many strippers do you have? How long does the session last?
So each one is 1 week, and there's 8 weeks, yeah, and then I take off 2.
6 or 7.
Yeah.
And Heather, do you know Robin and Holly and Keith?
So I know, where's the other Holly?
Yes.
Oh, Heather and Keith.
Keith is
Oh,
very
yes,
good, yeah.
hello, yes. Yes, they're good things. Is Savannah home?
She is.
Oh, is that
It is.
Isn't it good to see her?
Oh, I know.
How was it?
Yeah, it's great. Yes.
Pleasure.
What do you, Keevan is?
So Keevan's a sophomore. I know.
I remember you chasing him around the T-ball field.
I know, me too. And he's, you know, getting ready to do a scout project, so, awesome.
Does he have a project in mind?
Nothing, no.
All right,
Well,
well, if
we
we
can
can,
turn to one.
I know,
if we
right.
can help facilitate it, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, John's kind of become our scout liaison.
Oh, lovely. Okay.
You can tell him he loves that job.
No, it's good, it's good. I'm never a Boy Scout, but. No, it's good.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be an honorary Boy Scout.
There you go.
All right.
Awesome. All right, Heather.
Thank you so much, thanks.
All right.
Did they ever get that wood in there?
We're back on schedule. Kate?
I don't have public speaking skills of my other neighbor.
No, introduce yourself.
So I am Kate Bliss. I live at 59 Mandel Road, and we have a dry well. Wah, wah, wah. So we need a new one after much discussion with experts. And our existing well is within the 100-foot setback
Yep.
for wetlands, and the proposed well would also, it's just, I have to get your approval on exactly where. We did get the okay from the Board of Health last week officially, so, and I should have made extra copies, but That is the existing well location, and this is the proposed. It's roughly about 25 feet in that direction.
Okay, so here's Myrtle Road, where are the wetlands?
So the wetlands are just
Oh, I
kind
see.
of along here. It's interesting because I mean, obviously the map is what it is, but I feel like it does more like that. This tree is not, this was taken out when the septic was done. There was a tree here, another huge maple tree that is just as rotten as this one, and we had to take it down a couple of years ago. And there's like about 10 feet where that spot to where it starts to get a little bit soggy. I know that doesn't really matter, but for what it's worth, it's not super, super wet right here.
So
I know it doesn't matter, it's close, no matter what.
how close is it to the,
To the, like, this is all grass.
right,
And then this is tall grass. It's grass down here, and in this region, if you come to our house, which anybody's welcome to do, it gets wet in here, almost like a vernal. There's a little stream that runs through here, that sometimes dries out when it was really dry. You've seen it, you
Oh,
would
yeah.
attest to.
Oh, I can attest
this,
to all
yeah.
that, right.
So,
Just a new well.
yeah, you can see where it's definitely
That's the subject.
wet from how
Yeah.
wet it has been this spring. So unfortunately, we have the neighbors who have a septic system in their front yard, so we have to adhere to that, plus our own.
Where's your driveway?
Our driveway is
Oh, right there.
Yeah.
And why can't you come over this way a little further?
Neighbor's septic system?
Well,
Well,
100
if
feet
it's-
goes to
yeah.
here.
We could.
You could,
Right.
you know, get away from it for.
Right, if you
Yeah.
can
This
get,
was what Bill Brookings from the Board of Health drew in.
Oh, he
So,
did?
Yeah.
Do it?
He was just doing here's 100
Just
feet
kind
from
of a
your
straight shot.
existing,
Oh, but
so
you-
go in
yeah.
and talk to them, and then they can kind of
Right.
tweak it, but that,
Right.
it needs to be at least there. And
Mhm.
then, by the time you have the road setback, I think we've got like this little section right left.
sure.
So, I mean, we're hoping it doesn't end up in the middle of our front yard, just because.
Oh, that's why you want to keep it.
Right.
But I mean, even here is fine.
Yeah, we would prefer it a little further over here.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, ideally at least 25 feet off of this.
Okay.
I assume there's no flags or anything delineating that anymore.
No.
When is this from?
I know this sounds crazy, but when they did the septic, we purchased the house in April. They did the septic that July, and I know they had, the barrier in place, but there weren't flags.
There weren't
Like, we didn't
stakes.
pull up any stakes, or, there were stakes, but nothing was color-coded
Little
that
orange.
far forward.
Well,
It was all like along the side here, and it stopped about there.
The well is
So-
already there, right?
The well, yes,
That's probably why they didn't go
yes,
down there.
correct.
Yeah.
oh, yeah, the existing well is there.
Yeah,
And that couldn't have been shoved back further, the leach field, huh? So you didn't have to
Well-
dig a new well?
that was all done by the previous
Yeah.
owners.
Right.
Well, it's done anyway.
Yeah.
So I would move that she put a stake where you finally want to put it, so one of us can
Go
come
from
out
by
and
and look at it,
yeah.
see what you've got here,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
And how soon does the well guy want to get in there, do you think?
Well, we're just waiting on the okay,
Okay.
at this point, I'm sure his schedule's probably
Well,
backed up a little bit, but hopefully soon, because we've been dealing with this since February, and it's getting where
Right.
one of us showers and suddenly.
Yeah.
Give me a call after 10 o'clock tomorrow or
Tomorrow?
something, I'll go up and
I'm home all day.
put a stake in the
So-
ground.
And actually, I've been meaning to call you about a couple of trees over here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it would be like a 1-2 punch.
Right.
Two
Right.
birds with one
So you
stone.
have Walter's number?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
It's in the book.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yep.
I have a book.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna view the location of well before work begins.
Yes. Go ahead, Sue.
Show us the back of the plan or something? Show us the back of the plan.
it gonna be
I know,
deeper
right.
than the other
So-
one, or?
I think so, our well is currently 225 feet, and all of our neighbors are 450, 500. Where's your well? Sorry.
Where, it's weird, it's
So
behind
how
our
deep is
barn.
Like how it
It's,
would work.
we don't know, nobody, we don't know, but we
Yeah.
know we've never had a problem until when somebody tried to fill a pool. And they
Sure.
can't dry, it was one of those big pools, but then the next day it filled up. But it's behind our barn, so the water it's not near our house.
Right.
But that's all ledge
Yeah,
for us.
right. I think that is the other, the two maple trees, only one of them is on there. But when the folks were coming through to do the septic, there was a lot of discussion about ledge in that area, so.
Right.
I think that was why the
Right.
well was
Was
put
where
there,
it was,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, but that's a while
Is it
ago.
a shallow well?
It's 225 feet. It used to
That's
be,
not
I wanna
steep.
say 90, and they deepened it in 2008, the year before we bought.
Wow,
Yeah.
and it's still
And it's not
problematic.
dry?
It's been a problem. We just put a whole house reverse osmosis in just under a year and a half ago.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
an expensive adventure for the well.
Um,
Between that and what we were about to do.
Sure. Oh, and so do you have a contract with a well
I do.
person?
Yep.
Just like to see what they're planning on doing with the
Yeah.
spoils.
Yes, that's right. You and I spoke about our retention pit.
Right. This process can only be completed when a retention pit is supplied.
A mud hole.
A
We're
mud
talking
hole,
about
yeah.
mud holes.
Yes.
I guess I should have come in sooner.
Well, Carl Wickstrom was just here about the one they're putting in down at the community garden. So it's.
It's standard.
Yep. So, yeah, especially being that close to the wetlands, though, we would certainly be concerned about,
Area.
Get it off of.
you know, that a deep enough hole to catch everything is put in place so that nothing flows.
Right.
So nothing flows into the wetlands. So maybe if it needs to be that close, I would like to see some silt fencing put up.
Okay.
Right? Yeah, I mean, obviously, we're gonna let you put a well in somehow. It's just, yeah, yeah. Yes.
Wells aren't considered like building something or.
Right, or even a leach field, or, exactly.
Yeah, of all the things that have to
We've
put
been-
Exactly.
here.
Yep, it's just more the, while they're digging it, just making sure
We
that.
permitted wells within 100 feet of a river.
Yeah,
Yeah, it can be done with the wetland.
yep, yep. So, yeah.
Did they change the pipe?
It's a new well.
It's a
I
whole
know,
new well, they
but
are
the-
gonna
there's a
try
line already goes down
to
here.
use some of our existing equipment. They're gonna, what did they say, fill it in properly.
The
But
line's not
they'll
bad.
still keep the line there and then take the line from the new location.
Here to here, yeah.
To there.
Right.
Because our pump is less than a year old, it's actually just a few months old.
Yeah. Only for if you're going,
Right.
depends how deep you go, you may have to go with higher horsepower.
Oh, I think we're gonna have to go to like 400 or 500 feet based
Yeah.
on our neighbors.
So you're just gonna change the pump.
Mm.
Right.
That-
Oh, no,
It's
the
really
pump
not
we
about
have
where
right
the
now, they
well can
souped
be
up
within
for that because
wetland.
Right, it's
Oh,
the.
okay.
we spent a whole lot of money trying to fix
Exactly.
everything before
That's-
they.
yep.
Oh,
No,
it's
you
not so much
actually need a
where-
new well.
it's how you manage
But you'll
the
save
pump.
$1,000.
Right, that's true, actually.
They just already paid that.
Right,
Yeah,
as
yeah.
long as we
Fees
don't
on
exhaust
shit.
it
Yeah,
with
yeah.
what's currently going through.
So that's, so she's actually okay.
Kind of running.
Right.
It's really about management, is the issue.
Right, right, which I think we've kind of touched on, but maybe didn't.
Clarify.
Right, so.
Forgive me.
Sure. Kate.
I'm John. About a year ago, I spoke with a representative from the Mass Department of Environmental Protection with respect to the drilling of a well at a construction site in town. And I seem to recall, and I have this, I think I have this information printed out at home,
you can actually drill a well within the wetlands area. What the real concern is what you do with the stuff.
Stuff that comes out, yeah.
Right, so that's where the management and mitigation has to be. And if this guy drills wells, that's.
Yes.
But that's what we would need to check on. But I think, but this would be right outside of it anyway, so.
Not quite.
So would that
Just.
entail
Just.
like a
Okay.
phone call with them, some official paperwork from them?
Do they have a proposal
Right.
that says
Yeah, it doesn't
Where-
really.
I think
where
they
he's gonna
kind
put
of
it.
get into it more once.
Right,
get into
exactly.
the job.
So,
Like Walter will look at the site, I guess.
Yeah.
But then the next step would for them to be described to us, how they're gonna manage all the junk, the crud, or the.
Or the schmutz.
schmutz.
yeah.
So should I have him call you or?
Or,
Which,
Walter?
look at it.
Walter's the most available
right, yeah,
person.
and the most knowledgeable,
That's true.
yeah. Yeah, so that would. About digging holes.
But we can also,
Yeah.
if something comes up, I can ask you, I'll also try to contact Schultz again,
Okay, see if you can find
the stuff.
the paper, whatever correspondence you had. So yeah, there's just definitely a couple of things that would be concerned about and want to be involved with the management of. But, so contact Walter, have him come out,
See
look
you
at it.
tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you'll get your will.
Yeah, and we'll go from there.
All right.
Idea. The contractor will notify CC a final plan.
Which is your house relative to the house?
So I'm Julian and Janice Pratchett.
Oh, I know that very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I work with friends of mine, yeah.
Yeah,
See,
so,
that's
but
how
it looks
everybody
totally different
knows.
because when they did the septic, they like wiped out all of the millions of trees that were around the house. Some really old
Nice
cool
house.
ones.
Nice old house.
Thank you all.
Excellent. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
coming in.
Thank you.
Thanks. And,
to Kendall?
right on time, bang, Laura, how are ya?
She's back in Berlin. Janice.
Oh, it's,
She's with her son.
That, I go tell the story. First time I ever met her.
How's it going?
She's a nice person.
Relatively right
I was
on.
in the census doing something, looking for some impresses, and I was in there. And I thought she was realistic, and then I made some joke about, oh, you can't build in this town. She was pregnant. So I
Picking on
turned around,
pregnant ladies.
she's sobbing, crying.
Oh,
Because I had, oh my God.
The other way, Walter.
You scare us all, Walter.
We've been good friends.
picking on the pregnant ladies.
Picking on a pregnant lady.
All right, and you want a shed?
I do. So I'm Laura Williamson. I live at 2 Kendall Lane. So we bought the house about 3.5 years ago. So this is what we have for our property line. And now clearly my shed is not that big, but I couldn't cut a piece of paper small enough to get it to kind of look
The
like
little
it.
pink?
The little pink thing.
Okay.
I have other ones to show you as well. So we, one, we don't really know conservation restriction. I looked at your website to figure out, and it basically says like you can't build, you can't add things. We weren't sure about the shed since the ground itself will not be disturbed at all. It's just gonna go on top of it, and they use cement leveling blocks. This area is actually the flattest part of our whole yard. Our yard's on like a gradient, so to put a shed someplace else, unless we put it like directly on top of our leach field, that's probably the only flattest spot we have.
Right.
So that's one reason why we were looking at it as from that. This is what we have. This is what we got when we bought the house. That shows our septic system and leach field, and so this is kind of where we were thinking about putting the shed, and I took pictures from Google Maps to show you guys. We weren't really sure. This is the 100-foot buffer, is that correct? Because it goes into our house, so we weren't really sure
Yeah,
what that,
looks,
and we don't know how accurate this is, or how, like, it's just what came with our
Right,
house.
so these were the construction plans.
Yeah, so that's
Right,
just what
so
we were given.
So the wetlands that this is off
So
of
here-
are,
This
Is that a
little,
road? Is that a road?
Oh, right down
stream
there.
right there that
Yep.
goes here. So we own, all of this property, then it comes up right here.
Sure.
You can see where our leach field is,
Yep.
under Kendall Lane, and it's kind of a hill. So what we wanted to do is put it right outside,
Yeah, this is a 100-foot buffer.
right,
Yep.
but like it goes to our house.
Yep.
So it's
Yes.
inside the
Yep.
buffer.
No, it's
It's
well
inside.
in, yep,
Yeah.
but,
So the builder put this white fence here, and we weren't sure if that was just aesthetics or if that's what he was trying to do.
I think when we permitted that area at that time, we insisted that there'd be a buffer
Yeah.
a
beyond which
visual barrier.
Okay.
Yeah.
things would not be done, even the lawn, as a matter of fact.
Yeah,
But we
that's
never
how it was,
policed it, you know.
that's how it was like cut when we
So the fence is still
bought,
there.
yes, sir.
So you just kind of go around it
And
to
then
mow?
around the fence?
Yeah.
No, it was mowed when we got there, like further in.
Right,
So we just been mowing what they've done, and the town used to come and mow it for us, every like twice a year, and then they just didn't show up this year.
right.
So we weren't sure, are they not cutting it anymore, or are they cutting it? We weren't sure.
Yeah, they might not know, Dave might not know.
You new guy running it, that's,
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
town bar doesn't
So
know.
you could give him a call.
Okay, we just weren't sure
what's going on?
what the rules are. So we kind of came to also for education as well, to know what it is and what,
So, do you have a copy of the conservation restriction? Should have been part of the
we didn't,
deed.
I can go back and look. I
Right.
don't believe so. All it was like, oh, well, you have some conservation land on your property.
So you're going to be on the
That's
road,
that's what we were told. I was
Yeah.
like,
you're
okay.
gonna be on the road side of your house, right?
The shed would be
yes.
on
The
the
shed,
roadside,
Yes.
I mean, just for your information, it wouldn't hurt to put it on the leach field if you just put the lawnmowers and stuff in it and
Right,
stuff like
and
that.
shovels
That'd be
and-
perfectly all right, but if that's a conservation
Mhm.
restricted area, I don't think that there should be anything put on there, so we'll have to look that up.
Depends on what the CR says, really, right?
Why
So
was it
we should have gotten a
Huh?
document, is what you're saying?
Yeah,
Why was
so
it?
a conservation restriction is there's like,
Yeah, we were supposed to get some.
Is it
This
part
is-
of our deed of our house?
it should be.
Yeah, it
Okay.
should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you don't have it, you can probably get it off of the registry of deeds
Okay,
and see what it says. Different conservation restrictions are written with different restrictions.
okay.
So I think that's probably the next thing that
The next
we
step.
should all know is what
What is
the
conservation?
CR says.
Well,
Right.
you know, this is interesting from a couple of points. This is what happens all the time. Builder A comes in, and, you know, this particular builder, he'd fill in a swamp if he could. And so,
I
you
know
know,
him.
you play hardball with him. And we required all of this, you know. 15 years later, other people move in, 2 or 3 changes, and suddenly, you know, we're kind of on the spot. But we demanded this back then to keep up out of the wetlands. And as far as mowing it goes, I think the
Yeah.
policy was, it's a natural area,
Okay.
like over in there, and we wanted it to grow up naturally with natural
Right.
native
Right,
plants and
Because
stuff.
didn't
Okay.
the person who lives here
Yes,
come in
yes.
about that same thing?
They
So then
wanted
they
it to
put up
go
a
wild.
fence.
Right,
They
Right,
want it to go wild, is what
Yeah.
they said. They don't want to cut it all.
yeah.
right.
Actually, the group that came in did want to cut the thing.
I think they wanted it cut, and then when we were less than enthusiastic about that, they put the fence there to delineate
On the
it.
other side of the road?
But
No,
that's what
next
those,
to us.
that's what the fence is
People
for,
across-
to protect that
Right.
area.
So
So
that's
I
outside
think
the
you better
road.
think
Oh.
about
They
that.
put this fence
Mhm.
here.
That's alongside the road.
I know about that,
right?
yeah.
No, it's up.
She's on
100
this
feet
side of the
from
road, the one I'm talking about was this
the other
lot
side of the
over
road,
here,
yeah.
on the other
Mhm.
side of Kendall.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I went to that, yeah.
She told us that she didn't want it mowed, so she called and told the town not to mow it.
Okay.
And then we said, oh, well, we'd still like ours mowed if, because it just gets so high, and there's like all these maple trees sprouting up, like 1 inch away from each other. So I
Okay.
I just wasn't sure. All right, so you're saying I should go to the deed, get the deed?
See what the CR says.
Okay.
Yep. Definitely, first of all,
Okay.
so that you know.
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
even know it was in the deed.
Yep.
Yeah, it was pretty much glossed over,
Sure,
you know.
yep, because that scares a lot of people away.
Yeah, you
So
might
they were
end
like,
up,
oh, you just own this little small corner.
you might end up putting it on your leach field, but
Okay.
we just gotta be careful of not setting a precedent. I'm pretty certain that's totally restricted, but, and if it is, then we have to keep it that way. But if it isn't, then we have some leeway.
So that deed will pretty much tell us what,
Sure.
Well,
It's
yeah,
even
it-
possible the conservation restriction has a time limit.
Is it what?
No,
No.
CRs don't have
No.
sunset clauses.
No, they're tied to the deed, stay with the property.
Yep, and it takes 2/3 vote at the state level to overturn a conservation restriction. Yeah, yeah, they're not easy.
So she should come back in 2 weeks?
okay, awesome.
Cool.
And
Thank
if you have trouble finding the CR, let me
Yeah,
know,
well,
and I'll
You
try
said I
and
can go
help
to
you.
the,
Registry of Deeds
do that
website is
online.
awesome.
I'm looking at it, I can't pick up the.
Wasn't there one of the
Address, this
places
is really unfortunate.
Really?
It's like when it hits.
Two Kendall?
I'll bet Kendall.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's not like it's something.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, he was gonna put a CR in all the back of those lots,
Yep.
and he never did.
Yeah,
Who is this?
Black.
Kendall?
No.
Chuck Black.
that's,
Kendall Holmes, yep. Chuck Black. Here's supposed to be a land out back there.
you should, I mean, it's not of use,
Back in here.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's part of the
It's
deal.
all grown up into invasives, all.
That's the thing, is if you don't let people to do anything with it, then it's just invasives are taking over around here.
Yeah. All right, yeah.
Thank you.
So, and if you have any questions in the.
Oh, but this is my only copy.
Give it to me.
Then I don't even know where I found this to begin with. Because you'll never find the things on the internet once you find them.
Yeah, do you want a copy?
Give me your name and I'll call you.
We'll make a photocopy.
All right,
Yeah.
It's, do you want my name?
yeah.
It's Laura.
Laura.
Laura,
Laura, okay, that's right there.
And number?
978.
838-5978.
No.
What does he want, my phone number or my
Yeah,
address?
but he's thinking, back in the day, people used to just give the last 4 digits, because everybody had the
You
same.
can dial the last 4 digits.
Yeah.
Okay, what is your phone number?
It is 978
Okay, 978, I got something wrong here. Yep,
855
This is a cell phone.
yep.
3932. Sorry, I don't have a landline.
Are you around during the day?
Yes.
I'm gonna look up what we've got in our records.
Okay.
We'll look at them both ends.
Great. Thank you for your time.
Awesome. You're
Appreciate
welcome.
it.
Thanks for coming in.
I'll make sure I get my map back.
Yeah, sure, yep.
All right, that is all our appointments. That was-
Bing, bang, boom.
Yeah.
5, 2005.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
All right, so then the other point of business that I have is we need to sign the DOA from Ball Hill Road from last week. So,
It was on the shed, right?
there's in the shed that they want to make into the garage.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this will be a shed and then later on it'll be a garage.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I doubt that. So I cited the part of the Wetlands Protection Act that allowed conversion of lawn for accessory use. And that's it. Everybody good with that?
Yes.
All right. I know you have 2 things, Sarah,
Yes.
John.
But it's just something.
That
Well, that's
just
all
goes
part
there
of
with it, yeah. And then we'll do photocopies of this, and we'll get that ready to mail.
Still done.
And we still haven't even done minutes, yes.
Oh, boy.
So where are we on the agenda?
I know, poor Louise, I skip around.
No, that's okay.
I think we can go back to the top and read the minutes.
Okay. All right, okay, I do have a question before I read the minutes.
Sure.
Okay, I can't find it on here. The open space plan,
Mhm.
okay. Where is that in the minutes?
Did we talk about the open space plan in the minutes before, last week, or last meeting?
Sure.
Okay, under,
Two.
6B, ongoing business. Number 2, open space recreation plan. A forum was held on April 18, 2019, at the town offices to get public input. The survey was reviewed, but it was not accepted. Right,
Why was it not accepted?
because we just pretty much did that tonight. I don't know, we should leave it in, and then I said it will be submitted, right?
I don't know that we needed to accept it.
Right. Okay, so I'll just take that out. It was reviewed, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so,
Okay.
Right, I mean, the survey is going to be, you wrote it will be submitted, it's gonna be included in the open space plan.
okay.
As part of, it was a portion of the document.
Okay. Oh, that's true, this is the survey, not the
Yeah.
plan. Right, okay, so
Yeah.
you can just take that.
Yep.
All right,
Yep.
we're all set.
Yep.
Okay.
Maybe, get your last name. What's Laura's last name?
Williamson.
Williamson.
Yep.
Okay. All right, so May 1st, 2019, meeting opened at 7:10 with reading of notice that the meeting was being recorded. Attendees: Carolyn McDonald, Chair, John, Steve, Walter, Liz, Louise, and Carol. Also attending with interest in becoming CC members: Holly Kennedy, DiRitola,
yes.
yeah. 48 Randall Road, Robin Berry, 141 Gates Pond Road, Keith Susie, 23 Culver Road. 1, minutes of previous meeting. Minutes for April 17, 2019 were reviewed. Steve moved to accept the minutes as read with clarification of whether forestry is 61 or 61B regarding forestry plan on Summer Road. Liz seconded the motion, which passed unanimously. 2, treasurer's report. Funds available as of January 31st, 2019. Annual budget is $1,378.78. Wetland funds is $7,401.97. Open space land acquisition, $279,614.25. Mail, notices. 1, notice of ZBA hearing on May 8th, 2019 at 7 PM regarding petition of Sawyer Hill Condominium Trust Virginia Mackey of 51 Village Court to modify comprehensive permit to increase number of bedrooms in Sawyer Hill condominiums at 100 Village Court. 2, notice of CSX providing information on their yearly operational plan, YOP, for right-of-way ROW management. The YOP describes how CSX will control vegetation on the railroad right-of-way in Massachusetts. 3, copy of letter from Board of Selectmen regarding the original waiver of right of first refusal for the POTUS property, 344 Rample Road, Berlin, Mass. The property is being taken out of 61A. Wetlands issues, no wetland issues were discussed. 5, appointments and hearings. A, 7:30 Berlin Meadow Walkway Ramp. 1I, David Smith, Highway Superintendent, attended the CC meeting to discuss a plan to make the walkway ramp more accessible. He would do a site visit and come back with a plan. 2, he will also investigate a plan for watering the flower garden at Berlin Meadows. B, 8:00, 90 Ball Hill Road, RDA. Natalia and Richard Wheatley of 90 Ball Hill Road returned to the CC meeting with a request for determination of applicability. They presented a plan showing the proposed garage they plan to build on the side of a shed on the property. 2, they presented proof that the hearing had been posted in the item. 3, Natalia stated that they had started the process with the ZBA to obtain a variance on the distance from the property line. 4, Steve moved that we issue a negative determination of applicability based on the submitted plans. Walter seconded the motion, which passed unanimously. 6, business, A, new business. 1, town meeting articles. Carolyn reported on the discussion that took place at town meeting articles forum that was held at 19 Carter. 2, associate members. 1, Robert Berry and Holland Kennedy Chola attended the meeting to express their interest in becoming members of the CC. Holly is interested in our open space acquisition plans and trail connectivity. Robert would like to work on open space protection. Walter moved that we make them associate members who could take part in the discussion of issues but could not vote on any of them. Liz seconded the motion, which passed unanimously. 3, fall cleanup day. Louise reported that people expressed interest in holding a fall cleanup day. She will work with Orange Holyoke on organizing the event. B, ongoing business. The CC continues to work on ongoing issues, vernal pool certification, Berlin Meadow Walkway, procedure checklist for the CC. 2, open space recreation plan. 1, a forum was held at April 18, 2019 at the town offices to get public input. The survey was reviewed and accepted. It will be submitted for the open space plan. Which done that. 7, land acquisition. A, Dilling property. 1, the Dilling family has expressed interest in selling or giving a piece of property located at the end of Allen Road.
Giving? No giving.
Pardon?
No giving.
There's no giving.
I have that. Okay. Of selling a piece of property located at the end of Allen Road to the town of Berlin. CC will keep in touch with the family. A, land management. A, POTUS Farm Protective Covenant is in progress. 9, community outreach, no discussion. Liz moved to adjourn the meeting. Walter seconded the motion, which passed unanimously. Meeting ended at 8:43.
We're late.
Okay. Motion to accept the minutes as corrected.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Me.
What else did we miss besides? I took that out.
I'm giving you.
Was there anything else that?
No, that was everything. That I heard.
And then one person from Story Hill.
I can do it.
Molly came. Yep.
It wasn't really in progress.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, dear.
Sky, yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, so, John, POTUS conservation restriction.
Right, so, we had been wondering what the status of this was, and I believe that the selectmen or Chris Keefe pulled the building permit.
I alerted the building inspector.
Sorry, I thought it was.
Yeah, no, somebody actually posted on Berlin Neighbors Connect that they saw some activity starting up there. And I knew that we still didn't have the conservation restriction in place, so I emailed everybody to find out what was going on. And everyone was like, there's nothing going on. I don't know if the building permit had actually been issued or not, but they have put a hold on it until we have the CR in place. And then I saw that you had emailed.
So out of the blue, this guy, Harold Reeder from.
Well, it was probably because the building permit got stopped.
ZBT SOAR emailed me Friday saying, oh, by the way, Ernie left a while ago.
Yeah,
And-
so Ernie doesn't work there anymore. And
was the guy
he
that-
was the one who was working with us with CR.
Right. And then-
It's not actually CR though.
Well,
PR.
protective covenant,
It's
yes.
thank you,
PC.
protective covenant. Thank you, Louise. So, the way I had left it with Ernie and Vicky Marsh is that she had drawn something up. I actually printed out a copy of the draft. And they, they'd sent it to Ernie, and they were supposed to hammer out the details, and it was supposed to be done. And then Ernie left, I don't know under what circumstances, and then the ball was dropped. So, when they realized I couldn't do anything, then Harold Reeder contacted me. I got back to him, I CC'd you, and I gave Vicky Marsh's information. She's the town council, that was one of our town council that was working on this thing. And then to communicate with her, that was on Friday. And then today, unfortunately, a little late in the day, because I've been super busy, I tried to call Harold and left a message, and I emailed Vicky, when she hasn't gotten back to me, about just what the status is. Because really, the thing is, I'm not gonna go chasing people.
Sure, no.
I reached out today because we had a meeting coming up, but it's not my job to coordinate this.
Correct.
So,
Yep.
No, you just put a stop in the building permit, that'll get them moving.
Right.
so.
Which I did.
But,
that.
I mean,
Yes.
they just literally dropped the ball, because Vicky did draw something up that is adequate.
But there is no
When you
activity
say
up there, correct?
they
I-
dropped the ball,
ZPT Solar,
pardon?
The
Solar company.
Oh,
the
CP.
solar company.
Mhm.
ZPT Energy Solutions 2 LLC.
Right, we do it. So did anybody verify there's no activity up there?
I did get an email from the building inspector, or, saying that the permit was on hold.
Okay.
Yeah, no, part of
It's done,
why
it's
that
done.
happened that way is the old building inspector and I had many conversations about that project
Mhm.
and my concerns about opening it up
Right,
in the spring,
but the new guy doesn't know.
but the new guy didn't know.
Yeah.
So,
But you caught it before it was issued, or did you put a hold on it?
you have to go?
Yeah, I have to catch a ride. My bike blew a tire getting here.
Oh, no.
Ride home.
All right.
So-
Thanks for
Yeah,
coming.
Thank you. See you.
Good night.
See you in a couple weeks.
Okay, yeah.
So, really, they just need to cross their Ts and come for us, and once we're satisfied, go before the selectmen.
Correct.
So that's the status right now.
Yep.
So essentially, what I'm giving you is a status update, period. There's no voting right now.
Wasn't there a sign-off sheet that we're supposed to sign off on, or that never happened?
Yeah, I was wondering.
Yeah.
What happened to
So,
that
yeah, that
process?
is, there is it's not a sign-off sheet, it's
Check.
this computer program.
Okay.
So we get an alert when a building permit needs to be approved. And, the ones that have nothing to do with us, I do.
Right,
But if I got a notice about this, I didn't see it because, for whatever reason.
even
And
if
they
you
went
don't
ahead-
see it, you didn't sign off on it, so
I
that.
did not sign off on it.
Right, so I'm saying,
Correct.
so
Yeah.
that he can't move forward, he should not be able to move forward.
I don't know enough about what's going on in the building inspector's department anymore,
Yeah,
but
Because it's not Joe.
no, he's gone.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
gone.
He's gone, or
Gone,
on
gone,
leave?
gone, gone, and then
he
gone.
resigned.
Yeah, he,
Ah.
okay, so which building inspector did you talk to?
Joe.
Oh, okay.
When
is this something
all
you-
of this first started, I just sent an email to the building department, and got a notification, so when something changes on a building permit, I get a notification that something has changed. And I have to go in and see what changed.
Mhm.
And it was that this was stopped. So but I didn't get a notification that it had been issued,
Right,
Mhm.
so
Here we go again.
that's,
yeah.
yeah,
Who's
frustrating.
the building now?
It's an interim guy at the
Yeah,
moment.
his name's Richard something. Have you met him?
No idea.
He was here before, he filled in for Larry Brandt when Larry Brandt was out on medical leave.
Yeah.
Larry highly recommended him to be the
Mhm.
building inspector.
Right. And I know the other people in the building department liked working with him also.
Yeah, he's supposed to be
well,
good.
Well, my current experience does not,
Right.
isn't super wonderful so far. Not that, I'm sure, it's just, there's been a lot of stuff going on, so. But yeah, so, the building permit, I believe, got issued, and it has now been stopped until we get the CR in place.
It's on Facebook.
Right.
And you.
Yeah.
Can we put a stop to it?
Oh, sure.
What is it?
She found out on Facebook
The
that something's
building
happening.
permit got issued for POTUS without the CR, without the protective
Oh.
covenant in place.
I thought we had a system that goes around
We're
that.
talking
That's what we're talking about.
Wake up, wake up.
Yeah.
Walter, we're here.
So you haven't
We
been
used to,
notified
now
that a
we-
building permit has been issued, but
I
it had-
hadn't been notified,
Right.
but it appears that it had been, because it has now been put on hold until this gets straightened out. And,
So you're gonna straighten it out?
well,
Building
I
inspector
did,
said-
I put a stop to it and said that the protective covenant needs to be in
Okay,
place.
so, okay,
And
so,
now the ball's in their court to get that in place.
so CC for the stop on
The
it?
building
Well,
inspector
the
put the
building,
stop.
we notified the building
Oh.
inspector that all their documentation was not.
You wouldn't give that much authority to Carolyn.
Yeah.
I'm going to put building department, okay, because we don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea, building department.
So hopefully, a town administrator would catch something like this and would like be watching from.
Sure, and once they, if it was a brand new TA, I don't know
For
that they would have.
$150,000, he better catch it.
Yeah, so,
We caught it though, it didn't get by.
yeah.
Thanks to Facebook.
Well, it got by, there was a stop to it, but it got by.
Thanks to you.
Yeah.
Okay, sure,
Okay.
yeah.
Give her kudos.
Facebook.
Yeah.
Give her kudos.
All right, let's go to the next
Hey, I'm
thing.
gonna take
Well,
my penny.
well, here's, before we go to the next thing, the town administrator, they're gonna have a committee with some, people off the street on the committee to see who they might be hiring. And I know this woman Beth in my community that's on the committee, and I said, I'd be happy to sit in, because I came from a town that had a crappy town administrator. He was a snake. He was fired from another town. We gave him a raise, took him, and he's like in one of the selectmen's pockets. So, if we get a good one, hopefully he'll be catching things like this, and he'll be,
He or she.
He or she will be, above board.
Yeah, they, yeah.
And, and good and
Yeah.
honorable. But as a committee, do we want to kind of have a finger on the pulse on, are they gonna, do they like conservation, are they for us? They'll probably talk a good game when they're trying to get the job anyway, but it would be really good to have somebody that, likes conservation and knows what they're doing.
Representative from conservation?
Yeah. So,
Are you volunteering?
I actually am.
Okay.
Yeah. a good
Consider it
town.
done.
So
Okay,
I'll sit in and.
yeah, get in touch with.
Root for us.
Get in touch with the select board and find out where because I know they're interviewing soon.
Yeah, I went to the
Saturday, maybe?
presentation. It sounds like they've got a company that does a search.
Right.
And the guy that's on the search committee really likes the town and was kind of saying, I would really like to be at a town like this. This is a great, almost like he wants it.
Right.
So maybe.
Yeah, I
we
know
could-
there's a
Forerunner.
committee, like an interview, a hiring committee.
Yeah. Okay. I'll see
So,
where it's at.
yeah, see where it's at. Anything else?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, you had two things, yeah.
So, Boy Scouts, Eagle Projects, is this go under land management or community outreach, or both?
Would be both. Well, it is land management.
Well, they
right?
both, yeah, it goes with, it can go under both, I'll let you decide later, Louise, you'll be. So there's two Eagle Scout things.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Joel first.
Okay.
So, I hadn't heard from Joel for a while, but then he emailed me earlier this week, Monday, about, that he's actually almost ready to start installing.
Cool.
I assumed Walter had helped him with some of this stuff.
I helped him load lumber to get it out of my yard, and I gave it to him.
Well, thank you, Walter. So he's
No,
been,
I offered to have him right there, just make him right in my yard, I have all the power and everything else, but no, he wanted to bring him home and do it.
apparently he's been chugging along, so,
Yeah.
and, so we're going to meet tomorrow morning at 9 AM. I guess we're meeting up at, what's that farm?
Maplewood?
Yeah, I've never been there. I've seen it from the other side,
Yeah.
park side.
It'll be mushy, wear your boots.
Thank you. And we're gonna go over the site again, just to double check, you know,
Sure.
and then he's gonna start organizing installation. It's weird, because I was expecting him to hit us up for like all kinds of free labor and stuff, but, because maybe he'll ask me on tomorrow morning. So anyway, so, you know, that should go ahead, and so I'll keep you posted.
He's
Awesome.
building it at home. How's he gonna get in there?
Well, he's pre-building.
Oh, gotcha, okay.
And then-
he'll screw it together there.
Right.
Take it in pieces, gotcha.
So you're gonna view the
Maple.
site and,
Agree on, you know,
Location.
the location and the plan for installation, and then I will work with him, presumably, on, you know, on the day of, with, you know, or the weekend of with the installation. It's really his, you know, it's his job, it's his project, so it's his job to get all the
That's right.
volunteers together.
He's supposed to
Sure.
organize it, so.
Yeah.
So, you know,
so
that's
I forget what he's building.
A walkway.
a boardwalk.
Yeah, boardwalk.
A boardwalk to prevent erosion and wet socks.
It's for the stream,
That sounds
stream frontage.
specifically.
At Maple.
So we're looking stream frontage.
No, he's going in through Maplewood.
In the Pisgah Conservation Area,
Yeah.
we're accessing, with the, because of the kindness of the Maplewood woman or person,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yep.
I've never met her.
Okay.
That's number one. Number two, and I forgot to mention this last meeting, because I think by the time I was so tired of it in a meeting. But before that meeting, I met with, oh, you had brought in that kid Nolan.
Yeah, Nolan.
Nolan, and so I met with Nolan and the Scoutmaster Chris Pendergast, and I'm not using the Scout's last names.
Yep.
And at 6:30 in that room to talk about Nolan's interest in Eagle Scout projects. He had proposed this, clearing up this stuff, debris.
Correct.
So that Wednesday, I went in there with my, and I cruised over all of the trails of the Meadows area. And the conservation, soil conservation area near your place, and I doubled back to find other ways to get up to your area. And I found the area he was talking about, and actually, it's a simple loop and/or an old trail that actually leads off the conservation area. And there's this ginormous pine that's hung up there. I mean, like, pine like this, that's with a break off at 20 feet up and hang up.
Yeah.
So we're gonna leave that alone.
Sure.
So instead, I suggested, because, well, you know, but there's other debris, and there's also opportunity for sort of helping out with sort of trail management stuff, you know, just marking. So there's a bunch of Walter's put a lot of work up in that area with bridges. But, you know, there's some junctions that are very confusing around that area, and there are some orange signs, but again, it's the same kind of thing where you can't get from, like, the orange signs go in a circle and also in a line. So the orange signs form a Q.
Which can be confusing.
It can be confusing. So
Sure.
I said, well, you know, there's an opportunity to improve this, to put up some more signage, some areas, access areas in other places, like up at the Colony, whatever, the Eco Village. So I said, I know a guy, so I contacted Stimson, Dan Simpson, to say, you know, this is a thing, would you be interested? He got back to me, said, sure.
Yeah.
So I put those two in contact with each other.
Excellent.
And turns out, and I didn't know this, but this harkens back to this, whatever this is, with Eli.
Okay.
that SVT actually does do the yearly monitoring of the two conservation areas associated with the Brewers Brook area.
Yep.
Which I had no idea.
Yeah, Louise and I went once.
Right, yes. we
So every time.
I know there's trails up there.
Right, every time they're going out to do a monitor, to monitor one of the properties that SVT also holds a CR on, she always emails me and says, hey, going, you wanna come? And it's always like 11 o'clock during the middle of the week.
Yeah. So it's with
yes.
school,
Yep.
and, you know, and if it's a Wednesday, I could do that.
Okay, I will forward those on.
But only on this. So, tomorrow's an exception. The, Dan also offered to hook up Nolan with the person that owns the property that the Surrey Hill CR is on, around, you know, sort of some trail signs in there, and potentially also with the horse people around, just like, you know, a sign that shows where the entrance is, because there actually is theoretically an entrance from Surrey Hill Road to there. There'll
Right.
never be parking there, but at least there could be a sign that, so you could
There's
pop.
gonna be parking there.
Well, that was my question, Walter.
So,
'Cause I'm not sure.
so Sawyer Hill, which, are you talking Gates Pond Road, Sawyer Hill?
No.
You're talking
Down
Great
by the
Oak.
quarry, beyond the quarry.
Nope.
Oh, you don't know what you're talking about.
Trails.
I need the other one, this one's have it.
Okay, so that's.
No, no, yes, it
the
does.
Bolton side of.
Yeah, I apologize. So, you know, this is the Brewer Brook area,
Okay.
and these are the two this is the Surrey Hill Conservation Area.
Mm-hmm.
This, I believe, is Surrey Hill Road.
No, Sawyer Hill Road's the black line that's labeled Sawyer Hill Road.
No, thank you. This is a little confusing. So, yeah, some of this is already green. I just gotta grab a different map.
Grab the rolled up one, that's the most recent.
So it's yellow, so Walter, you can help me. So the yellow part here,
The yellow represents land that's already developed or something with no
okay.
interest.
Okay, so here we go. So this is what I'm talking about. This is the area right here. So some of this, so there's this and this area here, which is conservation land, correct, Walter?
Mhm.
Now, but this is horse conservation land.
No, that belonged,
There is, I
Is that
believe,
part
a
of
right of
Chico?
way.
Yeah.
There's a right of way that leads from this to there.
well, it isn't a right of way, they use it, it's not a legal right of way, and the Kementeris who owns. what they
This
have-
or this?
That.
The white one?
No, the
the
green.
green one
The green
isn't
one.
particularly happy about people on the land, he's got no trespassing signs up.
Well, my understanding, I see the white, those trespassing signs on the white, but the green, because this is where it becomes a field.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
Right, so I don't see any signs on this part, just on the white. Because I'm up and down this
So
concept.
I wouldn't count on making a trail there without getting his permission. So, all right, what do you want to do there anyway? though?
No, the reason I brought out the map is you just said, I said about parking on Surrey Hill, and you said yes.
I mean.
You were
over by
talking
the
down
quarry,
here.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So to reel it back a little, about 4 or 5 minutes, I don't think there could ever be parking here, but I think that there is a trail easement here. So there at least could be a sign there, and, you know, and the trails go down here and around, you know, it's all over the
Is it an
place.
actual easement, or is it just
I
something
don't
people use?
know.
People use it, there's no easement on that thing. When Charles Edward Conning signed over this conservation restriction on that to the town, there was no public access.
So
It is
who-
not allowed public access.
Who owns that piece of
Right?
the light?
That's Andrews, Joni Bergen.
Oh, do you think they would allow an easement?
Oh, you have to approach him.
Right.
I thought.
So that's-
Oh, so I misunderstood something you said 2 or 3 months ago. So these people, I thought you said these people would never be interested in letting people.
Sally Burton?
Every John, yeah, well.
Johnny Burden and Tom
Yeah,
Andrew.
Tom. They own the white one, yeah. You'd have to, they're very environmental minded. You know,
Yeah.
You'd have to go and ask them.
I mean, there's at least a chance that they would allow,
Yeah.
access.
But approach Ted Kemataris too, he might, you know, you never know. I mean, come down right next to the wall where the cart road goes now and swings around, and then you can get into, goes this way, this is the line. And you can get into that area and then over all through here. So you could leave the center of town, go all the way around Gates Pond and never go on private property. Well, although he owns it, we just have a CR on it. I know Ted quite well, I could ask him.
Okay.
So all right, finish your story.
So no, so I just, so that the Scout project that he's proposing is just, developing a, sort of like redeveloping or refining the trail system around Brewers Brook with some clearing and trail signage and then trail markers. We're essentially working
I
with the
walked
incentives
that about
from
2 weeks
SVT.
ago, I don't see where you could improve it.
This is confusing.
If you-
If you wanna,
yeah.
if you're coming around here and you're like, how do I get to town?
Right.
This is,
The trouble
Well,
with you, Walter, is that you've lived here for, I think, 120 years.
That's not a problem, that's not trouble, that's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, it depends. But if you don't, like, particularly right here, you have, like, to get from here to there, you have to scramble over a rock.
Oh,
And-
my.
Which is not a
Scramble
problem.
over a rock.
Which is not, Louise wouldn't be able to do it, number one. And number two, is you can't even tell the trail goes over the rock.
yeah.
You don't even know the trail goes over the rock unless you're poke around. So there are opportunities to make it.
And there is, I think there's a little parking in here, because there's a
Right, wasn't that?
Oh, there's parking, there's parking right here.
parking right
Yeah,
here.
there's parking right here.
Yeah,
There's parking here and parking there.
Yeah.
That's the two places with
Yeah.
parking.
Yeah.
and lots of
Well,
people walk
and
their dogs
here.
and
Yeah.
cut through here and are at Leach Field.
So it's just, again,
Yeah,
it's not a huge disaster or anything, but it's an opportunity for people to use the government project.
Here, these were rolled up in there.
Well, you can make, there's a lot of extra stuff you can do.
You can put some markers about interesting geological sites.
He's supposed to put the whole plan together, anyway.
Right.
I know the project.
Well, I wanna walk with him when he's doing that particular area.
Yeah, that's already been done, I don't,
And didn't we already say to him, we don't want it too cleaned up, because the
Yeah, right.
habitat.
Absolutely.
The kind of
The
fallen trees and
wildlife.
stuff, and we don't really want to,
If they're across the trail, they should be cleaned up. The hung up trees
Yes.
across the trail should be cleaned up.
on the ground.
Or 2 feet above.
Yeah, we just got
Yeah.
through with the bat houses and we don't have a right to give them permission. Well, that happens to be state land too, the same thing, flood control.
Right.
And you can't do anything there, you can't build bridges, you can't fix trails up, right?
Yeah,
Even though we do.
Oh, you did.
That's right.
I
Other
was on
people
today.
can't.
Right, okay, so
Okay, so
just
that's it. That's it. Just
oh,
updating about the.
to clarify, he's gonna clean up the debris on trails around the Burnham Brook
He's
area.
gonna develop he's sort of
Plan.
redevelop a trail.
he's got a proposal.
Yeah, he's gonna propose a trail management system for the
Okay.
Brewers Brook area, just put it that way.
All right, anybody have anything else? Walter, you got anything? Oh, actually.
You go ahead and do it, but I just have a problem with reaching and stretching, trying to create things so somebody can have a project that isn't necessary to begin with. Just wanted to say it.
Okay. Right, but it's
don't.
input, but, all right, so I'm
No,
gonna,
no.
I'm gonna talk to you a little about that.
Yeah, what?
So you're always talking about getting kids out into the woods and getting kids involved. And we're trying to help facilitate a kid who wants to do that.
Yeah, I see getting them out and showing what the different trees are and going around and,
Right, but that's not
we
a
should.
project, like, he has to you know, I understand what you're saying, but.
Yeah, I do.
Oh,
Yeah.
maybe he can help with the website identifying from our,
We don't have
Conservation.
the technology for that.
Right,
his parents, his dad's a programmer.
yeah, but it's not him. He has to do the project.
Right.
His dad can't
If
approve
we
it.
don't wanna
Well,
do that,
exactly.
Walter, do you have another proposal?
No, I haven't given it
It's
any
supposed to
thought.
be the kid's proposal, so.
Right,
Right.
I think.
Well, he,
That's
we're
fine.
fine.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's different today than it used to be.
Right.
Speak from
Okay.
experience.
I
through
move
that.
to
Yeah, I
close the
know.
meeting.
Yes, I do. And that
It was
one I
tough
do.
back in our
No,
world.
I actually, so bag ban. Yay.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
Are we interested in buying reusable bags with the town seal or Berlin Conservation screen printed on it and giving them out / selling them to people in town? I will spend time researching different possibilities if there is support, but I don't wanna waste my time if nobody wants to do it.
You know, the thing is, we passed it.
Mhm.
The bags aren't that expensive.
They're $2, my wife, we can use.
People can
those.
buy their own bags.
Gail just bought, I just got it in the mail the other day, of these other bags that you put your produce in. You know,
I
when you
have
go,
some
you-
of those, yeah, the
Yeah,
mesh ones,
yeah.
they're awesome.
Right,
Yeah.
so she bought those, won't even, even for
Mhm.
produce.
Yeah, I don't think we have to spend our money on that, because my support was mostly around marketing, but it passed.
Right, but we do have some money in the budget.
Oh, does
We
that-
are reaching the end of our fiscal
Oh, it has to
year.
be consumed?
Well, we don't have to,
Just- we'll
but
see
we
the back.
could.
Hmm.
I'm just saying we could, not that we have to.
Great.
But, yeah, I mean, it depends on how much awareness we're trying to bring, and there's a way of doing that, of bringing awareness of
That would be
conservation.
good.
Because we get enough money and he
Yeah,
can
we
do
should
us
put
another
one of the,
favor.
uh,
As long as we
And
can-
I'd
as
like
long as we
to-
can take
would
it
be
out of
good
it.
to not feel indebted.
As long as we can take it out
What's
of
that?
that. As long as we can take it out of that fund.
As long as we can what?
What
Take it out of that
fund?
fund.
Take
Our
it
fund.
Our budget.
Yeah.
As long as we can do it out of our budget.
Right, oh, that
I
was
think we can use that for
absolutely.
anything.
Huh?
We can use that for anything
Correct.
related to conservation.
Okay.
Yep.
No problem.
In fact, we could take it out of wetlands budget.
No, I'd rather not. I'd rather do it on our.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So what are we gonna do?
They're talking about reimbursing Mike Sawyer, so it's not a favor.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
I forget, what did he do for us?
Bought some, he
About
allows
$125 worth of, what do you call it?
hay
Wattles.
bales and wattles and silt
Wattles.
fence.
Where is that
For
going? Being used for?
Walter dropped it off for the highway department to use for our 2 parking areas.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would that we do
I
that.
started to look into it, if you don't have a count set up with them. it
I know,
just
I know,
gets-
it-
June says, no, that's when I decided to let Mike.
And that's when he
You know,
says.
I come around full circle, I'm
Yeah.
not gonna let Mike, it's just
Yeah,
a headache.
it's a headache. You gotta set up an account and everything
Right,
else.
Right. June was pulling her hair out, I was just talking to her about putting it on.
Yep.
Second,
Right, so no bags,
I don't think we
No.
can reach a decision.
okay?
it's a crazy idea.
Those are my best ones.
Nice,
Unless we use
All right.
it as a fundraiser?
Right, absolutely, we could sell them as a fundraiser. What, can we do that? Oh, I don't know. I don't know if we can do that,
Well, that's
actually, now that you
I
say
don't think
that.
so, but it would,
We
why
could
we're
do a
spending
fundraiser.
town money to raise money to, no.
Right, right,
That
okay.
does
Sound
not
right.
fly.
Doesn't sound right.
I guess we don't need to
All right.
since it
All right,
passed.
wait
I
a
have my
minute.
own bags.
Did we just move on?
Nothing.
No,
Okay.
I know, so we don't have any decision. I'll do a little more research, unless everybody's like, absolutely not.
I'm absolutely against it.
You know, I mean, if you're looking at bags, you know, the ones that you have, the mesh bags, did you get all the same size? or-
No, it was an assorted.
Right.
Right, yeah, I saw
Variety
some,
pack.
right, yeah. So
They're
we could
awesome.
look into those also.
Yeah,
I don't have any of those.
I
Okay.
have some,
Because
but
it's
they're
all
all
about
that
me.
size.
I guess the question is, what would be the purpose of having these bags? I mean, to just give them out or at events like Old Home Day or
Exactly.
whatever?
Yeah,
Okay.
to have them
To
as-
increase the awareness
Increase awareness,
of
increase.
the conservation.
Increase awareness of the bag ban, increase awareness of conservation, increase awareness of,
Okay.
Okay,
Town.
it's a dead idea. All right,
All
one
right, so
quick
you're gonna
thing.
do some more research.
One thing before we,
Or ring at a time. Okay,
no,
I'm just
right,
saying that
it's just,
this-
I've brought this up many times. If you go around, spend time looking at other conservation commissions' websites, some of them are stupendous, and ours just doesn't cut it. I don't know.
well,
You know?
you say that a lot, but somebody has to put the time into building the website.
Well, that's so,
And keep
I mean,
doing it.
other towns do, so.
Don't look at me.
uh,
I think it's something Holly.
Didn't Holly
is-
say
Yeah, I
something?
think she's interested in,
In helping out?
Yeah.
yeah.
Just
I-
go on Bolton's website. I mean, I just looking up something the other night,
Yeah, it just takes somebody to do it,
Yeah.
that's all.
And keep
So you
doing
went-
it.
And keep doing it.
She would do the website.
How many people? are
Yeah, I'll
there?
help her with content,
Well, I'd be
but
willing to pay out of our budget. if
Is
we
that the
could
town
hire a
website?
minute.
Multi-bag bags.
Huh?
I think she would be doing
Well,
it
the
instead of
website's a lot
website.
more-
We were just talking about it
Mm.
casually, it wasn't
But
really.
Disagree.
Right, there is a town website,
Yeah.
and we're on
Agree to
it,
disagree
Yeah.
on that one.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, is that-
I-
As opposed to starting another one, I think we should
Yeah, don't we, are we
work on
just,
that one.
yeah, just, we need content for the town site.
Yeah.
Right.
That- Right.
Yeah, we have the ability to,
Add.
Right.
to add
Put down.
to it, yep.
As associate members, you can work on that.
Right.
That would be.
Turns out schmutz means dirt or grime.
Yeah.
I was thinking it was dirtier than that.
Oh, no.
No, that's a different word.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Okay, so we're passing the bags, correct?
Right, apparently.
No bills, no
See,
mail,
we
nothing
learned
that
this.
needs
We
to be
learned
done.
Yiddish.
Bills, no mail, I'm
Yeah.
filling out the calendar for next year.
Right,
You
minutes
have
were
to
all
find a
uploaded,
little
so
picture.
all set.
Cool. I make a
I
motion
think
to
you have
adjourn?
to do it
Second.
each
Sorry,
time.
Oh, sorry, made?
No.
Second.
All those in favor of
Aye.
adjourning?
Aye.
Who moved?